This is the final session of the BEA MetaQuake Symposium. We are here today to talk about how to build curriculum for the metaverse. My name is Angie Foss. I will be the moderator of today's session. I work for Autodesk. We are a large software company. We predominantly do software in the 3D modeling space. You may have heard of Maya, 3ds Max. I work within Autodesk Research. I would love to tell anyone here today in the audience more about what I do for Autodesk Research, or those of you online, you're welcome to find me on LinkedIn. I'm going to ask my esteemed panelists today to introduce themselves, and then we'll jump right in. Bernard.
Hello. Yes, my name is Bernard Key, and I guess I could call myself the CEO of STEM City Chicago. I am a kindergarten teacher by day and a rogue technologist by night. And I'm honored that Doc T asked me to develop STEM City on the behalf of the educational network that I'm involved with in Chicago in terms of BEA and the National Society of Black Engineers.
Okay, hello. My name is William Wells. I'm the executive director for STEAM Village. We're a K through 12 STEM program in Kansas City. Also developing STEM City, Kansas City, which we've got up, and I believe they'll show in a few minutes. And we're also actually taking middle school and high school students, and we're building out a broadband network in underserved areas. So there we go.
Amazing panelists for this rich discussion. And don't forget to check us out on stemcityusa.com. Let's start with kind of the basics. When you hear the word metaverse, what do you think of? How do you define metaverse for those of us in the audience?
Well, I would define it as the next generation of the internet. When you first came out in the internet in the 90s, it was WorldNet. It was on a couple of websites. Then it progressed to the social media where MySpace and Twitter involved. And now this is the third generation of the internet where it's totally immersive. And if you're a video gamer, you know exactly what I mean. Now it is a 3D version of the internet. That's what I would.
I like the 3D edition. William?
Yeah, I would agree with that. For me, I would say the definition is opportunity. It's an opportunity for communities of color to be able to have their own social media platform across the world to come together and share information, share knowledge, share resources, and also be able to empower and educate our own.
Very cool. I love how, um, sorry if we've been having audio challenges. I love how you both reference some of the history too, like the metaverse and how we're thinking about it today is not necessarily new. Some of these technologies have been building over time and they're really coming to fruition right now. Would you agree? And can you talk about how like Bernard specifically with your kindergartners, how is that how is that emerging with such young minds?
You know, it's so wild because when I started teaching at this grammar school, and my plan was always to bring STEM City Chicago into my classroom. So as my superintendent and my principal tricked me to being a kindergarten teacher, I said, "How much do you guys know about the metaverse? What is the metaverse?" I'm like, "What you guys know about NFTs? What is the NFT?" I was like, "I'm gonna let my kindergartners tell you." So and so they couldn't give me an answer. So I went. So one day I was teaching my students about the internet or something, and it just popped into me, man. What you ask these kids what the internet, what the metaverse is? So I said, who can tell me what the metaverse is? I just threw it out there, and Kelly Monday, one of my most favorite students, Mr. Key, the metaverse is a internet where you could be in it in a 3D animated avatar form. I was like, man, can you go down to the office and tell the principal that? I'm like, yeah. And she got that from playing Roblox. Roblox. And she like, that's it. That is a metaverse, and I play it all the time, Mr. Key. And I play Minecraft too. Isn't that a metaverse? I'm like, man, I'm like, okay, we're going to go to the next lesson because this is over with. So I said I have to stay in the school so I could teach the educators what to teach the young kids because that's our workforce. So it starts with the kids educating the teachers on how and what to teach them.
Yeah. It's so great to hear that the young people are educating us older folks on these new technologies. William, can you talk a little bit about your community and the work that you do? Where do you see challenges in the comprehension of this new technology?
That's a great question. I'll start with the challenges, right? The challenges are really us adults. Getting the adults to get out the way and let the kids go. The bedrock, the foundation of our program, it deals with economics, right? How can we bring people into the economy that usually have to struggle to get into the economy or denied access to the economy? So being able to have a platform like Dr. Payborn has blessed all of us to be able to have gives us that platform to be able to expand who gets to participate in the economy and do so by creating their own services, their own products, their own lessons. And I think everybody's trying to figure it out now. But if we can move aside, these young people have figured it out.
Yes, and because when I started doing on this metaverse development, during the what I call the apocalypse, I was in my basement with my Oculus and some liquor. Because they told us to stay away from people and have nothing to do. So I taught myself VR development. And as I was building this, I recognized the economic significance of bringing NFTs to the forefront because that was a big um, trending word, but people didn't know what NFTs. But I did. I'm like, let me take Eric January Jr., CEO of Jan Vision, who is an artist at Howard University, who's majoring in art, who's working on a thesis in art. And I know Eric's father. And when Eric changed his major to art, his father called me, Bernard, please help my son make money in art. I said, okay, I got this. So I was like, let me put his art in STEM City as a NFT gallery. Let me work some proof of concepts. Let me put some music on it, and let me promote the first HBC student that I know who has artwork in an NFT in a marketplace in a metaverse and in an award-winning metaverse. So I have Eric here in the audience, and he's my poster child because he's also a former member of my Nesby Junior chapter and champion team member of our 1080 car racing team. So it only seemed right that now he's an art student. He's still a NASB Junior member to me. And now he's associated with Bea. And I thought that putting his artwork was a no-brainer.
I do love how the metaverse really enables STEAM, so the addition of the arts into the science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's really nice to have you here, Eric. And I love hearing these stories. I thought we could kind of really focus on the curriculum side as we're helping the audience here think about how might they dive into developing curriculum for the metaverse. Um, I heard you both speak about access, and I know that as a former online curriculum developer, that was the power of online curriculum, really providing greater access to students. Can we talk a little bit about that access in the metaverse? Like, how might someone go and start developing curriculum for the metaverse? What are some of the tools you might use or strategies that you use to approach curriculum development?
Well, I'm probably getting ready to have a whole bunch of educators blowing up Sterling and Ray's phone for saying this, but I'm not a believer in stirring curriculum, right? We're in a different world now. And so what I believe is that young gentlemen with talent like this man and the young man at Howard that specialize in areas, they are the curriculum. So how do I get my students into a space with Mr. Key so that he can show them how to do AR, VR development? How do I get my students that have an interest in art into a space with this young man so that he can teach them? How can we reach one, bring one, lift while we climb? He's still climbing, but obviously coming through Nesby, he reaches back. I'm assuming he reaches back. And if you really think about it, that's an internal conversation that we have in our communities across this country. How can we um, work together and expand our reach? Because the one thing about the metaverse, the one thing about the internet, we don't have any boundaries anymore.
Mm.
And so simple things like in STEM City USA, the 15 accredited schools of engineering that are HBCUs, you know, now KU Gear Up can send their students into STEM City USA, and we got a link to it in STEM City, Kansas City, and they can go in and do their own research. Now, what's the next phase of that? Well, teachers are in demand and on shortage across this country. And if you're in a Title I school, you probably aren't getting the top of the litter, right? Well, guess what? If Tuskegee University has an engineering program, they can actually teach in a platform like Metaverse, STEM City USA or STEM City Kansas City.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm doing with STEM City Chicago, I have created a network of business owners, educators, artists, musicians, so they could use the STEM City format to portray their art, to teach. For example, one of my partners, Kelly Rayborn, who is with Think Tank ACT Prep, she's the same woman, same business that got all my students scholarships by working with them and raising their ACT, SAT scores. And so when I got an opportunity from Doc to integrate education, that was the first thing that I said, I got to have an ACT prep homework tutor service in STEM City. And so when I approached Kelly about coming here, she she um she let me know that she was already at Morehouse College doing tutoring services. I was like, wow, that's a great opportunity for me to bring the metaverse into a tutoring HBC environment just by having you. So creating those collaborations, especially with my new friend Janine back there, who will be at Bea, and she is integrating curriculum into the metaverse too. So I just partnered up with her 2 weeks ago, and we have so much fun in like the metaverse that we don't even get any work done on stage. So the collaboration is there, and even on the entertainment, because I was sharing with the history of the Oculus. If you look on TV commercials, they have black teenage girls promoting Oculus. The very first Oculus commercial was a black girl. The second one was a black girl. The third one is a middle-aged black woman. Now they have a black gentleman advertising Oculus because they understand that black content of entertainment, everything, if the metaverse is going to be relevant, it needs those components. So now I use this platform to change the trajectory of how black culture is perceived. For example, bringing in more positive music with Cool Side, with Albert Hill, bringing in terrific urban art with Mr. January. And I even partner up with some teachers at my school. For example, we have this gentleman who is the owner of Gumbo Art, and he runs a gallery, and he teach kids art 3-4 days a week at my school. So he didn't know anything about NFTs. So the conversation that I had with my principal and my superintendents, I said, look, the only way I could stay here if I do what I could do. They said, fine. So I went to the art teacher and said, I want to create a Gumbo Art NFT art gallery with my students' artwork. So I had my students color a portrait of Martin Luther King, and I put those pictures in my gumbo art NFT gallery. Now that art is going to stay there until somebody buys it, and all that cryptocurrency money is going to go to that kindergarten family for their college. So we could create anything we want because it's the metaverse, and just like Will said, it's a platform for economic reset. So I'm just taking this and say, what can I do? And who can question my motive? Because the metaverse is so new, nobody could really tell you can't do it because they don't have the intelligence or they don't have the expertise to even tell us no.
So I want to double down on that. No, I told you our organization is about economy, the economy, economics. How can we expand who gets to participate? The metaverse presents an opportunity for us to have our own platform. There's a saying that we said that the next Black Wall Street's going to be virtual, and we really believe this. You can't burn down the metaverse, right? So let me just go and pivot to the big thing that everybody's talking about: infrastructure dollars. Schools are talking about market value assets without really defining what a market value asset is, because market value assets could change, right? He's an art. How do you say what his market value asset is? Everything is interdisciplinary. Colleges are trying to figure out because the same degrees that were available, I'm getting ready to age myself, when I was in school and you were in school, Dr. Taborn in school, those degrees don't play now. You have to have a little to be a doctor. You have to have some computer science. You have to understand AR, VR, right?
Yeah.
For so everything has changed. So now the skill sets are changing. Skill sets are problem solving skills, teamwork skills, communication skills, creativity, right? And how do we get those kindergartners to say, hey, used to be when you want to be an engineer, you're like, may as well, for me, be at the bottom of Mount Fuji with no shoes on, and you tell me I need to climb to the top in order to become an engineer. But when you tell a kid, you know what? Everybody's an engineer. Everybody in this room's an engineer. How can you say that, Mr. Wells? Because engineers, they just solve problems to make people's lives better. And one thing that all of us are going to have on a daily basis are problems, right? So,
Unfortunately.
so when you think about it like that, and you break it down, then you go and say, okay, city of Kansas City, Missouri, city of Chicago, we know that public works has all of these infrastructure dollars, and we have these corporations, engineering firms, tech firms that get access to all of that. Why not take 1% of the dollars on that capital construction project, pay these high school, middle school students, and let them learn as apprentices alongside your engineers who are retiring, right? And didn't have the tech skills that are required today because construction, and this is the Autodesk, is why I'm pleased to be
I
with
know
you.
my brain.
Engineering, construction, development at the center of it now is building information modeling, which means that we're going to design it in a virtual space. We're going to make our mistakes in a virtual space, which means we save money, we build faster, and then we can take that same virtual blueprint, hand it over to the owner of that property, and then they can use that for the maintenance and the sustainability. And oh, by the way, the young people that were apprentices, they're the ones that's going to run it and manage it. So for us, with our digital KC Now internet project that we're building out, we're looking at it like this. Kansas City has won a lot of awards for being a smart city because we put kiosk on our streetcar line. That isn't really helping the third district where we have low median household incomes, we have higher crime rates, we have lower graduation rates. That's not going to help. So for me and our organization, what we said that a smart city is going to be realized and deemed a smart city because it's made up of a bunch of smart communities. And the smart communities are digital communities where you are learning, you are working, you are training, and it connects directly back to healthcare. It connects back to education. It connects back to workforce development, business creation. This young man right here, I don't, knowing the younger generation, they are not looking to go and work at IBM, Cerner, or somebody else and make $1 and then make them $1,000. They're saying, I can control my own destiny. I can produce a product or service, and then you can contract me out. You can let me license you to use my service. And that's a mindset shift. And that mindset shift is an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity for us to do and look at the economy, look at our place in this country in a different way. And it's an opportunity for us to build our own platform, our own table, control our own table, pull everybody out of the Facebooks who have algorithms that can hide you or they can make you sing. You have no control over that. Pull yourself out of the Twitter, who again, algorithms can hide you and there's a lot of minutiae, but if we can just create our own platform, utilize it the right way, get more people to adopt it, because now Bernard has a sixth grader who's now in college, and you happy, aren't you? Right? And so we need to amplify them. We need to amplify them. And it's also a way for us to get our anchor institutions in our communities, our churches. COVID came and we shut down, right? Well, we didn't shut down. Our kids, they redesigned 18th and Vine, and there's just a lot of opportunities. And I probably talked too much, so I'll shut up.
That is okay. That was an amazing discussion, and I feel like we're all gonna have some fun after this because I want to make some stuff with you guys. Um, a few things. One, you mentioned some Autodesk products, and just out of just so the audience knows, there's some really fun things to check out that Autodesk can be current day examples of the power of a platform like the Metaverse. I showed yesterday our new product, The Wild, which is an architecture, engineering, and construction product. It allows for collaboration, like in a metaverse environment, in a 3D environment. You can be fully immersed in a virtual reality headset with collaborators who maybe are somewhere else around the world. You can co-design. You can see, I think, William, you made some very valid points about reducing costs by having some of those errors and maybe design iterations virtually rather than in real life, right? So that's one product. Another product that's kind of related, which is fun, is a product called Tandem. It's a digital twin product, again, for architecture, engineering, and construction, where live data from sensors in a building can be tracked and monitored by a building owner operator. So those are really fun. And hearing you talk about all this, my background is also in curriculum development, which is partly why I'm here today on this panel. Project-based learning. Let's talk about project-based learning, because you both touched on the power of being in a 3D virtual environment to have some of those hands-on experiences that have become farther and farther out of reach for a lot of students, I would say, due to things like access, money, funding, equipment, right? Whereas in a virtual environment, you can simulate some of those experiences and you can activate things in different ways. So I'd love to hear both of your perspectives on the education buzzword, project-based learning, but how does that translate in the metaverse?
I am a certified project manager, project service, what they call learning project-based curriculum writer. And I was writing curriculum for Chicago Public Schools. Then I made a transfer to a suburban school district, Rich Township 227, and I was responsible for writing project-based curriculum. And what I noticed that a lot of teachers in high schools and grammar schools don't get that term. So when I wanted to bring a workforce development curriculum to my kindergarten, my superintendent and my principal like, what the hell is that? What is, so I had to show them. So I said, okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to take my kindergartners and I'm a Lego master educator. I said, my kids are going to build a robotic city, smart city, just out of Lego bricks and the motors. So I had them, so I taught them ro- Lego robotics, how to code, block coding, how to make basic instruction using Lego blocks, and how to code. We had a this fair, and the parents of the other, like first graders, second, third graders, they were livid at my principal and my superintendent because they was wondering why my kindergartners were doing advanced technology projects like robots and coding, and the first, second, and third graders got like volcano, eggs, how long does it take bread to mold, these simple science projects. And they go in the hallway and they see my kindergartens giving their big brothers and sisters lesson on how to code a Lego robot over an iPad, and their parents are like, "Why are you showing your big brother that? What this is what Mr. Key showed." And I portrayed to the parents, this is what workforce development training, and this is what high school teachers like me was trying to go into the grammar school to tell the grammar school teachers what to teach so they could handle the rigor of doing a project based activity in my classroom. So that's how that we got to start from the middle school and teach them workforce development. And I got to say this, my kindergartners, they don't look at my class as coming to school. They look at it as coming to work because they got jobs. Like one boy has a logistic chain, blockchain job. His job is to make sure that the Legos are in the bins and color. And I have a IT project manager who makes sure that all the pads are plugged in and they're ready to go. And I give the jobs like, you guys are workforce. And what I realized that a kindergartner will fire your butt quick when there's a student in my class that's procrastinating. Riley, you're fired. You're fired. So I literally had to hire one of my students to be an HR, Kelly, who is the one that's always swindling kids from their milk for candy. I'm like, you are a great negotiator. So I said, you are my VP of um, HR. What's that, Mr. Key? You keep everybody happy, Kelly. Okay. So when there's arguments, Kelly goes to work, and she has this very strong New York accent for a Midwest girl, and she's just like mafia. What's the problem? She's like a union rep. What's the problem? You can't get along with Riley. Okay, you do that, and I give you a piece of candy. All right, and she solved it. So they got a cohesive work group, and it trips my principal out because man, you actually see my kids walking down the hall in the line, holding on their iPads, and they're like, "Man, you got some serious kindergartners." I'm like, "Yeah, because they're paid in 3D printed toys."
I loved every minute of that. Just so you know. William, did you want to like talk about project-based learning in the metaverse? And Bernard, I do want to come back to you and talk a little bit about you've described so much in the real world and how that translates with online. But William, metaverse, project-based learning.
Well, you said a key word earlier, digital twin, right? So, how do you marry up the virtual world with the physical space? You can't. You have to have a balance between the two. And the world's a classroom, right? So, in communities, what we're doing and what we're trying to get, we're hoping that the school district will allow the students to look inside of their own neighborhood, find a problem they want to fix, design it in the metaverse space, and then learn how to do a business plan, learn how to do a budget, and then go out and market it to try to find the engineering firms in the city public works to say, hey, we like to that house burned down 30 years ago. We're riding our bikes and skateboards in the middle of the street. Why don't we turn that into a skateboard park, that lot that's sitting there? and let's make that piece of land useful to our neighborhood, useful to our community. The world is a classroom. So why not let our kids get out of the classroom into their community, identify problems? I'm great going to the engineering design process, right? Identify a problem, come up with a solution for a problem, build a prototype for the problem, and then brainstorm and solve the problem. And then once you solve it, share it. And what happens, and what I like about what you just said with your kindergartners, I don't know if you looked at it like this, but I do. I see it. You turn on lights in these kids. You have already helped them and enabled them to determine a trajectory for their life at an early age. Now, just think if that was in every kindergarten across this country, what would this country look like in 18 years if you've got teachers like you that say, you know what, I'm just going to show you the way. This is a workforce class. I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to make it learning. I'm going to reach you, let you solve these problems. And here's some candy. Here's your budget of candy that you can use to go and solve the problems. But you turn those kids' lights on. What is that world? What is our world and our society going to look like? Because those kindergartners are going to be the ones leading us in 18, 20 years. And so kudos to you, man. My mentor and your friend that you grew up with, co-founder of the National Society of Black Engineers, George Smith, he says it all the time that engineers are made by the third grade. And if you take that and you connect it back to what was what I said earlier, which is only my opinion, nobody has to agree with it, that everybody's an engineer and all engineers do is solve problems to make people's lives better. Well, you're teaching these kids that they can solve problems. And when they solve one and they have one success, they're going to go looking for the next one and they're going to solve it. And the next one, they're going to have more confidence because they've already solved one problem. And so that's a mindset, man. Kudos to you because you're definitely changing some minds and setting some trajectories in a positive direction.
You know, I actually promised myself that I was going to travel the world with my wife and get her in trouble with me, but that didn't happen. So yeah, I am satisfied, and I've grown to love kindergarten. I was dreading that first day, and 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 I came in my school looking crazy, and my principal said, "But Mr. Key, are you all right?" And I looked in her face with a grin. "Man, I should not be here. I should be somewhere else. I should be in Las Vegas."
Hey, hey, Bernard, you just lucky that you didn't go in there as a teacher that had a degree in art because they might have had you teaching geometry.
You know something? But
Life at a Title I school.
you know,
Lots of inside jokes up here with
yeah,
the
yeah, a lot of
education
inside joke, but
system.
I'm,
Um,
but, but I just got to say this. People think that I'm an engineer. No, I majored in liberal arts, majored in photography, and so I just started because I was working for a technology company, and I was a salesperson. That'd be to make that money. You got to know what you're selling. So people just assumed that I was an engineer. So I got so tired of correcting people. All right, yeah, you call me that. So, so yeah, it's just a matter of educating you.
well, it is everyone. I love that everyone's an engineer. I also believe that every company is a tech company nowadays. You can't be in business if you're not integrated in some way.
Yeah, but some of those companies don't realize they're a tech company,
Yeah.
and they are.
And they need your students' help and maybe your kindergartners. Bernard, I did want to come back to you. Uh, the rich experience that you described. I love the roles. I love the sound of your classroom with your students. How do you currently and what are some of your future plans of integrating metaverse activities, curriculum with those kindergartners? I think it's actually the best person to have on this panel because I think there's probably a belief system that you have to be a certain age
No.
to be activated in this tech space. So tell us more about the kindergartners and your plans
Well,
for the metaverse.
when at my school, it's a STEAM, what they call a STEAM academy, a STEAM school. And I told my principal, because I'm a honest person, and I told her, I said, you know something, when I realized that STEM, STEAM schools They put those words on the building, and it's just like a liquor store in a poor black neighborhood that advertise fresh fruit, fresh meat. You know you're not going to get fresh fruit, fresh meat from a liquor store. And some schools, you're not going to get any STEM or STEAM education. So when I started at my school, I put that challenge to my principal. Like, I challenge you to let me bring STEAM. And then I said, I'm going to do it. And they didn't have any objections. So as of Monday, my innovation after school program starts, where my kindergartens are going to learn how to manufacture 3D toys, and they are selling them. And they already got a waiting list for toys. They are going, since the recommended age for Oculus is what, 9 years old? But there's some kids in my classroom that got Oculus and their parents don't mind. If their parents don't mind, I don't mind. So my kids are going to learn how to develop Eric's NFTs in my metaverse. They're going to know the works of Eric January. They're going to know the music of Mr. Albert Hill with Cool Side. They're going to be exposed to the stuff that we're trying to deprogram them from. So I'm using STEM City as a way of deprogramming our youth and to change the mindset from you having to work for somebody to the whole innovation design process of you create, bring them, you get the money. So I told my kids the toys that you print in my after school program, you sell, you keep that money.
And that's the tip of the iceberg. Just real quick, want to jump in on what you were saying. Um, Imagine this: we have a metaverse space. I have a history class. This young man and his peers have created a virtual underground railroad journey that I can learn the Underground Railroad. I can actually put on my Oculus and walk with Harriet Tubman to my freedom and learn along the way. How many kids would that make history more fun and more engaging? And it also removes the big conversation on the news about them wanting to take African American history out to school. Well, yeah, the metaverse is our school. It's our school now. We just don't have the masses that know it yet. And fortunately, we had a Dr. Taborn. We have this young man right here. I'm calling you young man, Bernard. We had this young man right here that are visionaries and realized that this is the next school. This is an opportunity for us to do what I like to always say: that's engage, inspire, educate, empower, and then emancipate. Emancipate from what? A system that wasn't built for a lot of us, right? And so once you're able to create your own system that you're building for those that aren't included, then you have control of your own destiny. And then we can start to learn and understand our own history. And we don't have to worry about what policies are put in place to keep it out of the school.
That is a very good point about the regulations, and it right now it is that ecosystem of kind of the wild wild west. So there's a lot of opportunity, but I think it really does matter who shows up and who represents and builds a community so that those potential regulators at some point, you know, have something to go against. That there's a debate. Um, William, your vision had me thinking about virtual reality and that experience of doing the Underground Railroad, simulating a lived experience. Our brains, in many ways, can't tell the difference. So there is a powerful component of these virtual experiences that you can really create lived experiences in a different way than you could through an online curriculum, for example. So it's really powerful, and thank you for sharing that example. Um, what else can we talk about? If I'm an educator in the audience, what would you recommend in terms of like where do I go? What tools? How do I start dabbling in building curriculum for the metaverse? Okay, great.
All right. Can I do a selfish plug? Hopefully Sterling doesn't throw an apple at me. All right. So this URL, on dot digital KC now, digitalkcnow.org. We are giving away IC3 GS6 digital literacy courses. And we're giving away A plus 1001 and 1002. That is the first step to participate in a digital economy. Because if you get your A plus certification, your starting salary is around $60,000. Again, I'm mapping this back to education, right? So in order to participate, you have to start with being digitally literate first, right? And then you have to have the core skills. And then when you have that A plus, then you can determine, okay, what pathway do I want to go to get from 40, 60,000 to six figures and up.
You know something, for the past 2.5 years, because I've been concentrating on the educational and vertical markets, I've been concentrating with a lot of companies, small companies in the Black community who recognize that they must be in the metaverse in order to stay relevant. So I've been more designing not only curriculum for the K through 12, but for Black businesses. For example, this one gentleman who has a popcorn shop in South Holland, Illinois. He he is very versed on what an NFT is. So he came to me and said, Bernard, how can I make money in my business with NFTs? I was like, how much would you charge somebody to get free popcorn in your place every day for the rest of their life? 100,000? Like 60,000? Like, well, let me create a. Give me your logo. I'm going to create an NFT, and that NFT, whoever buys it, they get free popcorn in your shop for the rest of their life. And it's like, wow, and I could get 200,000 for that. Yeah. So that's how he. And then a light bulb lit up in his head. And then when the Trump NFT cards came out, and he called me up and said, "Man, is that the same thing you doing?" I was like, "Yes." Trump, Trump trading cards. Have you seen Trump trading cards that was going for 99, and some went up to like 5,000? He had so many type of NFT ticket cards. He had this NFT ticket you buy, and you buy it. He minted like 1,000. 62 of those 1,000 people would be picked to do a Zoom call for him for 2 hours. And that was going for like $10,000. I'm like, I wouldn't get on a Zoom call with Trump for free. But still, people put value into whatever they want to put into it. So with that concept, I was telling this Black furniture store, man, if you want to sell that piece of furniture that's not pushing, take an NFT picture of it, sell the NFT for the price of the refrigerator, and then you throw in the refrigerator. You could do that. Then I gave him a story about this gentleman in California Hills who had a house for 3 years that he could not sell for like 500,000. He couldn't sell this house for nothing. So he took pictures of the rooms of the house and made those NFTs, and he sold the NFTs for 700,000, and he threw in the deed of the house for free. So now that person that made that purchase got two verifiable purchases. He got a blockchain, he got an NFT collection of NFTs that's verified on the blockchain, and they got a house with a deed with the same price. So when I that's how the NFTs could really create that DeFi centralization that Black people want from the banks, because they won't give us loans or they won't give us value for our business. Web3 and the metaverse is a great way to rectify all of that. But we have to go out and educate adults about Web3, metaverse, and how it could benefit the Black community.
So what I heard you say is reach out to Bernard. If you're struggling getting started, it sounds like you're the guy and you've got some really good ideas. Did you want to add something, William?
Yeah, I want to go to a step before that and connect it to data driven decision making, governance, community development, economic development, implementing ArcGIS. Um, a lot of times in our communities, we are not informed on our community. We don't know, we don't have an inventory of what our assets are, what our, our liabilities are as a community. And so if you take that and you take a ArcGIS and you take a digital twin.
Can you share a little bit for the audience just what ArcGIS
Oh
is?
yeah, geospatial technologies, being able to, you can look, you're going to buy a house or buy land or find out what land bank has, that's what you're utilizing, right? And so for a community to be able to look at its own community with that information, be informed about their community, and then they can go and say, look here, councilwoman, here, councilman, this is what we need, this is why we need it, and this is what the return on this, if you can help us to get this lot turned into this is what the return is. And it changes a mindset. So now what we're looking at is retention, building up our own community, utilizing the tools that are available to us, utilizing the fact that we are in a knowledge and information based economy, I'm sorry, but moving that knowledge and information based economy participation from just conversation to actually physical action by utilizing all of these tools and teaching, learning, growing, building, and running businesses and innovation, spurring innovation.
Very cool. It had my brain spinning. I'm curious. You both have talked about kind of boundless opportunity, particularly outside of systems. And for the folks today who might be listening who are working within the educational system, do you have advice for them in terms of how to navigate, kind of pop in between the maybe the state policies and some of the Department of Education, as well as that open space within the metaverse?
Bernard, as an organization that has a contract before the superintendent and that has to be approved by the board for rooftop access so we can provide internet, I'm going to have to withdraw and recuse myself from this question.
I'll take that because I always consider myself the spook that sat by the server room door. So I tend to go in kicking down doors and do what I want to do. And I tell my principal, I don't make mistakes. I call them best practice. So with that, the best way, I'm sorry.
If you're a perfect example, you're working within our education system. How are you navigating some of the policies, state regulations, perhaps the curriculum that you've been charged to teach, and balancing it with this sort of boundless opportunity that presents itself with the metaverse?
So yes, that's the question. I was telling somebody that our schools don't know what they don't know. So, and that's why that I started Nasty, because I tell people successful people work for failing institutions all the time. I consider myself a very successful teacher that worked for failing schools. And the reason I say that is because when I was doing my NASB chapter with Eric, who was in fifth grade, all these gentlemen that was going through the 1080 Lego, these weren't students from my classroom, and I would beg my principals, my STEM managers, hey, I'm a part of NASB. Why don't you let me take some kids from our school and let me put them in a robotic team, take them to nationals, and they could win? No, we want our kids to be bogged down with Common Core. They don't have time for that. So, okay, so I'm gonna just take my son's friends, and on the Saturdays, I'm gonna go to Flossmoor Library. I'm gonna spend time with the kids in my community. And sure enough, they were on championship teams, winning, and a couple of my students went on to start robotic programs at their school and to receive posse scholarships for taking that initiative for starting robotic programs at their high schools. And these were the same and 6-year-old boy that was doing Lego robotics. So I said, if a get outside of the classroom, and so Quan and I have designed a STEM City teacher professional development course that we're going to take the teachers outside of the classroom and show them and expose them to the things that Will and I expose our community and our kids. And what I'm currently doing now is teaching my parents who come in to help in my classroom. I give them lessons on how to 3D print, how to make websites, and I give them a tech lesson while they're in my class.
I love
And
that.
now I got parents wanting to volunteer to join my after school program because they know that they're going to learn how to 3D print. A lot of them never seen a 3D print in their life. And their kids come home with 3D printed toys. They're like, man, I need to be doing this. Can you make a latch for that cabinet? Yes, Mr. Key can show me how to print out a latch to fix that cabinet. So now you're engaging the community in my classroom, and the principals and the superintendents, they really can't say nothing because the that is who sit on the school board. That's who determines if that principal, superintendent keep their job. Not me, them. So if I say, look, there's some stuff that you should know that the school is not providing, those parents are gonna and they have,
Mhm.
what is it? And once they see it, they want more. So I say start with the parents and get them on the outside of the walls and the teachers and let them bring the curriculum that we teach in the outside community setting into the classroom because that's how I'm doing it and I'm not getting any feedback. I mean, I'm not getting any backlash. The parents are loving it. And but the teachers are kind of mad at me because my kindergartners are outperforming their kindergartners and first and third graders, and it doesn't make them look.
Well,
It is what it is.
I want to jump in on the Nesby piece, and you left with some Nesby scholarship money, didn't you? Did you get some Nesby scholarship money? Yeah, right. So it's funny that you would say that. We started out in Benjamin Banneker, lady that runs my programs in the back of the room. Her daughter and niece are in the program. Third grade at Banneker at the school. They closed the school. We ended up moving into a public space. We have kids that come from 6 different school districts, probably 15 to 20 different schools. They only see each other on Friday evenings from 6 to 9, Saturdays from 1 to 5. We've extended their learning day. But here's the key, and I had to jump on this when you said it. When the school doesn't let you take these kids to the National Society of Black Engineers convention, it's just like them not allowing those kids to come here to Bay. You got organizations, Department of Defense, corporations that are pouring dollars into Baya, into Nesby, that they want to get into the pockets of these families, these students that are going to college. That's economics. That's money, right? If you got a scholarship, I don't have to pay as much. Well, I will have to pay. It's just going to be to let you go to the movie or whatever, right? Whatever you have to do in college or spring break. But to deny that access to college fairs, career fairs, the ability to see 2,000, 3,000 students of color in suits and dresses being chased and recruited by IBM, Facebook, Twitter. These are lights. When parents and the kids see that, lights go on, and it's never televised. So the beautiful thing about the metaverse is we have our own channel, we have our own platform, and we can populate it with positive content so that more can see. We have a young man that left Kansas City with $30,000 in scholarship money, same path you on. 1080 from fifth grade, or Nesby 1080 in robotics from fifth grade through 11th grade. His 12th grade year, he didn't compete, but he went to the convention. He went to the convention to be in front of those colleges. He ended up going to Arizona State University. He's graduating this May with a degree in automotive engineering, and his capstone is converting buses from gas to electric. And here, the city of Kansas City, Missouri just got 6 electrical buses about a year ago that are sitting in a garage because they don't have anybody to work on them. They don't have the
Uh-huh.
talent and skill to work on it. So these are opportunities that we have to be able to build our own community, educate our own community, take care of our seniors in our community, improve their quality of life. And Bill Gates wrote, and I'm going to stop with this. Bill Gates wrote something in 1994 that said, "Content is king," and one thing that we have is content. Content goes into the creativity.
I love the idea of the metaverse being the place when there's resistance and pushback to move around the system. That was great. Um, we're close to wrapping up this panel. This has been a really rich discussion. I have one last question for both of you that I thought we could kind of end on, which is, on one hand, what are the things about the metaverse or some of the discussions we've had today that keep you up at night? That you want to make sure we don't lose sight of, and we remain cautious. And what are the things that really excite you, that give you hope and excitement for where we're headed with this technology?
Actually, since I created this, AKA persona of the bohemian, I haven't seen a downfall of the metaverse yet. Um, People say, "Well, what about the security?" I'm like, "Well, what about the security when you go in the chat room or Zoom call? You don't worry about security then, do you?" I'm like, "Well, the metaverse is the same way. It's just a place where people gather to experience ideas." And so far, I haven't met a jerk yet in like the metaverse. I've only met collaborative people, and I've only benefited. So as of now, the only thing that's keeping me up at night is me.
All right, what are you excited about, real quickly, and then we'll let William. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm excited about is the opportunity to create this DeFi, decentralized economic infrastructure for the Black community, so we could give value to our services, our education, our products, our intellectual property, and to just look at it as the wild, wild west, and you could just create anything you want, because that's what I'm doing. Got my music label that I started on my 50th birthday, and I've been working on that for 10 years. And now my 60th birthday is going to be next week. And guess what I'm pushing in my metaverse? My music label. Can you please rock that?
I take back the age comment, senior.
So yeah, man, I am excited about the innovation that's locked in my head that I just can't work long enough to push out, because it seems like everything that I do is like a great idea. So I'm just going with it.
Love it.
What keeps me up at night is the simple fact of adoption. I understand. It's kind of like the Clampets. We're like sitting on a pot of gold in the hills, and to get the adoption and get my community to understand the opportunity, embrace the opportunity, overcome those, I call those gotchas. What about security? What about, how are you going to regulate it? What are you going to do? That's not what bothers me. What bothers me and keeps me up at night is how do I get my community, communities of color, to embrace this and understand the opportunity and keep it on a path so that it can produce positive outcomes for our young people, our seniors, our communities. What excites me is the opportunity for me to be able to bring our mayor, our council people, into the community and the community into their office, and be able to have them be able to talk and bring them closer and reach more people, because and doing the same thing for the churches, doing the same thing from urban and rural. How can I connect those Black farmers, those brown farmers in the urban area, I mean in the rural communities, to urban restaurants? There's just so many opportunities that we can create our own supply chain and lift each other up.
Oh, and if I could add one more thing, for the past 2.5 years since I've been working on the metaverse, it's always been about proof of concept, creating those innovative entities that could go into the metaverse. So, like for example, taking Mr. January's art, taking Mr. Albert Hill's Music Cool Side Radio and his streaming service parties, and to take my music label. Just so taking those business aspirations from these three entities that I just entered, that I just mentioned, and say, okay, I'm going to create a proof of concept, put that in the metaverse. I'm going to promote my record label and show people that yeah, there's a the entrepreneur side of this because I'm doing it. That's my label, that's my art, that's my content, and I'm generating a life for myself by new technology. So that's a and you can too.
I was going to say that is a great way to end our session. Well, thank you both, William, Bernard. This was a really great conversation. I hope that all of you here in the audience today, online, were able to glean some great insights from these two.
We're glad that you hosted us, and we're
Yeah.
looking forward to
Yes.
having the conversation with Autodesk to give resources to our kids.
Yes, yes, we are.
And I want to plug Tinkercad for your 3D printing. But yes, okay. Thank you all very much. Don't forget to you can find this streamed on stemcityusa.com. And we enjoyed having this discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All aboard. Step up, ladies and gentlemen. Doors are closing. Good day, ma'am. Good day, sir. Thank you for boarding. Have your tickets ready. Next stop is downtown Chicago.
Don't wanna be late. Listen to me without no words.
Just listen to the cars come.
Hold me down so I can burn.
unspoken. Promises are made forever, they're unbroken. No breath, no sight, eyes wide open but with no light. Everything about it seems so right. Darkness comes, but I can feel you through the rain. The fire's still burning while I'm waiting for the train. The train, the train, the train. Step up, ma'am.
You can't wait 5 minutes?
I have to close the doors. Is there...
Just 5 minutes more, please.
I cannot wait 5 minutes, ma'am. I am sorry. I got a load full of people to get downtown.
You can't work with me at all.
I'm sorry.